In July, Grand Rapids received 20 unaccompanied minors, mostly from Central America. But since August, there's only been 4 new arrivals. 50 unaccompanied minors have been made wards of Kent County's family court so far this year.
Today is a formal review.
Well, the stories are tremendously gut-wrenching, difficult, that we might not even imagine for adults, let alone for children.
The fates of unaccompanied refugee children are decided here in the Family Division of Kent County's Circuit Court. It is also where judges hear unspeakable horrors inflicted on the hundreds of children brought here on abuse and neglect petitions. Last year, 40 unaccompanied minors were made wards of Kent County's Family Court. So far this year, the number stands at 50. Some are from Southeast Asia and war-torn countries in Africa. The majority, however, are older teens from Honduras and Guatemala. They travel by bus, on trains, and on foot. Popular crossing points are Hidalgo, Texas, and Lukeville, Arizona. The 50 new arrivals share 2 common experiences: violence and fear.
We're seeing a surge of Central American kids from the violence that they're fleeing. You're being recruited actively by organized crime or gangs and have no choice but to join or see family members die or yourself brutally violated or killed, and so you flee.
Kent County Family Court files contain graphic descriptions of violence and exploitation. A 13-year-old forced to work 18-hour days in a snack food factory. Kids beaten for attending school. Boys raped by gang members. Honduras has the world's highest homicide rate. Guatemala ranks 5th. About half of the kids in Grand Rapids are from these countries, according to a review of family court files. The path to America isn't easy.
They're looking for sanctuary. They're looking for safety first. And that's true of most refugees around the world. Most don't stop when they're fleeing for their lives to ask for entrance into another country. They're running, and they'll resolve those issues after they know themselves and their children are safe.
Along the way, they're confronted by gangs looking for recruits. One recent rival was held captive by a Mexican gang during her journey to the Arizona border. Some pay guides called coyotes to bring them to the U.S. border. Refugee children are sent to shelters run by the Office of Refugee Resettlement. The lucky ones are given special refugee status and sent to one of 22 shelter programs in the U.S., including Bethany Christian Services here in Grand Rapids. A petition is filed to have each child made a ward of the court based on abuse, abandonment, or neglect. They remain wards of the court until their 20th birthday. It's not cheap. The government has spent nearly $500,000 this year to care for the 260 unaccompanied minors housed in Metro Grand Rapids.
Please raise your right hand.
Judge Gardner has presided over hundreds of these hearings during her more than 2 decades on the bench.
It is a place where you do see that the children move from being afraid to being a part of this system, where they are encouraged to speak, address the court, talk about what they've learned.
One of those kids is Fani Bish. She came here 4 years ago from the Democratic Republic of Congo as a frightened 16-year-old.
I lost my mom, I lost my dad. So it was really hard. Every time when I was go to bed, I remember how awful we were. So that was kind of a comfort for me.
Fani persevered with the help of her foster parents. She graduated from Rockford High School in 3 years and now lives in Kentwood, studying to be a social worker so she can return home and help others like herself.
It's the fabric of our nation. We're a nation of immigrants, and we value that history.
Well, Congress returned to Washington today from its summer break. Unfinished business includes President Obama's request for $3.7 billion to deal with the flood of Central American children crossing the border. But with refugee numbers dropping and heightened concern about terrorist threats abroad, the funding request isn't likely to be on a priority list.
John, you mentioned just a minute ago more than $500,000 has been spent on local refugees this year.
Yes.
Where's that money go?
Well, court-appointed attorneys get a good share of it. There are review hearings that are held every 3 months for the 450 or so cases that are in Kent County Circuit Court right now, and that all adds up.
Well, we know that you have probably gone through a mile of paperwork, spent months researching this very interesting report. Thank you for that, John.
You bet.